We are here at the Digital News Desk with Watertown Mayor Sarah Pierce to talk about the meeting that's coming up for Watertown Council. It is the 3rd of March, and there is a meeting tonight, 7 o'clock, City Council Chambers. Quite a few things on the agenda that we can talk about, so thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. First, let's talk DPW, because you have a resolution here that's going to have the city buying some property on Van Duzy Street, and it will alleviate some of the pressure over at DPW down on Newell Street, right?
Correct.
And that facility, because outgrown that facility and just kind of just expanding and bursting at the seams, so to speak. So where is the property? Why does it make sense for Watertown to buy it, and what's the price to buy it? Do you remember that?
So as you mentioned, it's on Van Duzy Street. It's a piece of property that is essentially landlocked by city property. So that's one of the reasons that this makes sense. The price on it, if I recall correctly, $725,000. But that property will provide, as you alluded to, some relief for DPW and their operations on Newell Street. We hear often that we're going to need a complete overhaul of our DPW operations, our facility, just because that building, we've outgrown it and it's in such need of repair. So this property on Van Duzy Street will allow for storage of DPW equipment as well as equipment from other city departments. We currently rent space to store some of this equipment, so it'll kind of be checking that box in order to fulfill that need.
So this doesn't replace the building, the DPW building, by any extent? Right?
No, but it helps that situation.
And the stuff that's stored right now, part of that, golf carts, right?
Correct.
The golf carts will go into this new one,
Believe
but there's
that's
a
the
lot
plan.
more that goes into the building.
Yes.
It's a large building.
Very large, yes. We council members were all able to tour it several months ago, and it's definitely a lot of space for storage as well as admin if we wanted to do something in that way there. So it definitely could fulfill a number of needs.
So if you take a few things out of the current DPW barn, then you'd be able to put it over on Van Duzy Street, and that allows the current DPW barn to maybe to be used in a more
Sure.
efficient way,
Yes.
or you're not having the overflow, perhaps,
Exactly.
or too much
Yep.
in one spot. So the resolution tonight will have you guys purchasing that land, right?
Yes.
The flag policy, let's talk about that. That is on here, and there's a resolution tonight about the display of the Irish flag at City Hall in recognition of Irish American Heritage Month. Of course, Irish Fest is coming up, but it's been moved over to
Yes.
Clayton. But still, you have the request here. It comes on the heels of tabling a request for Watertown Pride with their flag.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess I want to learn what's the pulse here tonight with this resolution. Do you think this is going to pass?
It remains to be seen. I know we're waiting for some guidance from our city attorney regarding the request for the Pride flag. And then we, of course, as you said, have the request from the Irish Festival, or the group that is involved with the Irish Festival, to raise the flag of Ireland. I think that, both probably will pass if we, in fact, move forward with voting on them, because there were concerns over any kind of legal issues that we could face if we proceed with picking and choosing which flags we want to vote on, which flags we don't want to vote on, if we want to support a flag being raised, if we don't, that sort of thing. So I know the city attorney had wanted some additional time to do a little bit of research and see if there could be any potential legal issues we could run into voting on these different requests.
The flag policy passed,
Yes.
3-2, and then the Pride ask came to City Hall.
Correct.
You guys had a vote on that, but it was tabled at that point. What prompted the tabling? Because it was an email from...
There was an individual who had reached out raising concerns about the raising of the flag, and that then prompted the city attorney to say, let me look into a couple things, get some additional guidance on this before you actually vote on whether or not to approve this.
And the email that was received from that individual talked about a President Trump executive order regarding flying the Pride flag, but focuses on federal buildings.
Correct.
Right?
I believe so, yes.
And then also that the president with the executive order that there were only two genders. And so is the worry in Watertown, as the city attorney looks at the policy, it's not a federal building.
Correct.
Right, for Watertown. Is it the fear of upsetting Washington and the potential of any federal funding that could be pulled away if you go against what the federal government is doing?
I would say perhaps, I'm not an attorney. I'm going to wait to see what her guidance is, but that certainly I think could be one of the concerns. And that's, to me, that speaks to, I oppose the change to the flag policy. I thought what we were doing was the best, the fairest way to handle these requests is just to basically not have requests as an option. I think we're already seeing the complications that could result from reversing the flag policy that we adopted about a year ago. I think it's only going to get more complicated. I think it's going to put the city into a precarious legal position, as we've seen, and I think this is the reason that even New York State said we're not going to fly any additional flags other than the state flag and the U.S. flag.
So the vote here tonight will be on the Irish flag, whether or not that can fly, but you expect to have maybe some conversation with the city attorney about the flag policy in general and the...
I would think so, the flag policy in general and these specific requests to see, if she's
from these guys and the Pride group?
I think at this point, the only concern that's been raised, at least that I have heard, is specifically regarding the Pride flag, though I have heard from numerous constituents who have said, we should only be flying the American flag. That's the fairest thing. To put it in perspective, I've already heard from somebody who wants to fly the Trump flag on President Trump's birthday in June. So, you're going to have to take that one up too. And I think that just demonstrates the issues, the controversy that you get involved in when government inserts itself into these issues.
Mm-hmm. The fact that a lot of people will say that the American flag represents everyone. You've said that, mm-hmm. right? But perhaps the way that things are happening in Washington, the decisions being made, that people could feel that the American flag doesn't represent everybody because of the of some of the policies and executive orders that have been made. So I guess I could see where some people may think that it's important to have that representation, that the American flag may not represent everybody, could be their thought.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, of course.
The zoo budget, Zoo New York, is going to be has put together its business plan, and that's out there, and that's going to be seeking more money from the city, but also the county. Last year, I think that we took a look at it was like $375,000 from the city and the county combined. The zoo's coming back, 5-year plan, which is what you guys wanted, right? Mm-hmm. You wanted to see a business plan. So, how good is it that you got your business plan out of them? I
think it's good that we got a business plan, that we got additional details. Of course, there's certainly a lot more discussion that needs to take place. Not only does the city provide funding to the zoo, we also provide a lot of in-kind services. So the value of what we provide is certainly much greater than the number that you see. But as I said, it's good that we got the business plan. It's good that we're going to have additional discussion. I think it's been said by many that the zoo plays an important role in the community, but what's the future of the zoo? Is it sustainable for the city to continue to fund it long term? We're going to have a budget coming up very soon that we'll be deliberating, and this will certainly, I would think, obviously be a part of that discussion.
How would you describe today's zoo compared to a year and a half, 2 years ago?
I would say, I've been up there several times with my daughter to visit. I would say that I have noticed that they have been putting more effort into programming, I would say. They have become certainly, I would think, more visible, hopefully letting more people know about the different attractions they offer, programs they offer. So I would say I think that they're definitely putting more effort in, but will it be enough to sustain them long term? That remains to be seen.
But an improvement, you think? The city sort of said, do better, right?
Yeah, and I think to their credit, I think there has been a much larger effort to, as I said, host more programming, have more events, those sorts of things. So I think there has been an improved effort on the part of the zoo.
And back probably a year ago, your comments were, I think we have to reimagine the zoo, right?
Honestly, I still believe that.
That's what I'm wondering. Is this part of the reimagining, though? If they're doing these programming, is that part of it?
I think it could be, but in my mind, what I would really like to see up there, if we're going to do anything at all, is an amenity that can truly be like 365 days a year, enjoyed with a lot more indoor activities. I have learned this in my 2+ years of being a parent, that it's very hard to find things to do here in the colder months. Like, I would like to see something that offers a bigger benefit to people during those months when you can't get outside.
Right now, you're doing snowshoeing and skiing, and you're doing the rental for that up in the park
Yes.
out of the bathhouse, the pool bathhouse,
yep.
right? Could that be something switched over to the zoo? I mean, in the
You know,
wintertime?
I think anything's on the table at this point.
Because you do
I
have that
think
path that goes around out back or
Yes,
something,
yep.
right? And so that, just wondering if that's something
Yep.
that could be done. Now let's talk about the budget itself, because they are asking for more money, doubling what they're looking for from the city and the county. Pretty good amount of money. Is that a fair ask in their business plan? Do you think there's an appetite on city council for that kind of request?
I think it's a tough ask, because I think we all, or at least I'm a realist, and I know that this is going to be another very difficult budget. Last year, we saw a proposed budget with a 19% tax increase. We were able to get that down to single digits, but that was after a lot of deliberation, a lot of going through line by line. And for me, when you're going through the budget line by line, it's the things that aren't absolutely necessary to everyday life that are the first to go. It's the so-called low-hanging fruit. So, anything is on the table, of course, up for discussion, but I think that it's going to be very tough to increase funding.
Mm-hmm. The budget itself, and it's a good segue into what you guys are coming into for March. Here we are, March 3rd, and the city's fiscal calendar goes from July to the end of June, so we're coming up on presenting that new budget with your city manager. Last year, 19% increase, and projections from, I believe, the current city manager, but also the former city manager, Ken Mix, is in a couple of years, and you and I have talked about this, a budget deficit of
Right.
$6, $7, $8 million, $9 million. We're still on that track. Correct?
Yeah.
So as we look at the budget coming up, I think your answer is going to be yes, but are you fearful or a realist, as you just said, that we could be looking at, the city of Watertown could be looking at that sort of tax increase, right? The top line out of this budget could be, all of a sudden, another 20% tax increase, which will tell people, or people could say to city council, they've just been kicking the can down the road, right?
Well, right, yes, that is an argument that you hear frequently. I don't know that we will see a tax increase proposed at that level again. I think that our city manager and city staff have been working really hard every day to see where can we find efficiencies, where can we kind of cut back, what can we do to better balance the budget. So I think there's been a lot of effort put toward that. So I don't think that we'll see that right out of the gate. But I do think it will be another difficult budget where the council's going to have to go line by line and make some hard decisions.
Has it been where people have retired and maybe they're not filling positions? Is that one way to handle
I think there's
some of the
been at
personnel?
least a couple positions where people have left for one reason or another, and that position might not be filled. But if people can recall, if you watch the work sessions from last year going through the department budgets, it's pretty bare bones. And if you spend time at City Hall, you can see it's not a lot of employees that are there. Whether that's the departments that work at City Hall or DPW, you know that we need those DPW workers to do the various things we rely on them to do. Street cleaning or cleaning the streets after a snowstorm comes to mind. Like, can you imagine having less DPW and it taking longer to get the streets cleaned? Like, those are the essential services that we need to make sure are funded.
The city's always trying to think outside of the box when it comes to things as well for the budget. Any ideas coming from the mayor's office with the budget that's coming up?
I think it's essentially just working with the city manager's office. I mean, I talk to the city manager on a near daily basis about different things that can be done to create some efficiencies, some things that potentially could be done in the future to share services with other local government, whether that be the county or the town. I think we need to start thinking outside the box. If we're going to be in a sustainable financial position for the long term, we need to start working together more.
Mm-hmm. Everything's on the table with the budget coming up as well. I imagine the golf course is going to come back into
It
conversation.
will certainly be a topic of discussion, I'm sure.
Yeah. What are the options there?
The options, would be obviously keep it open, sell it, close it, lease it out potentially. I think anything is on the table, but it has lost money despite us being told that it was profitable. It does continue to lose money. My concern with the golf course is, who's it serving? Does it serve a majority of the city of Watertown population? No, majority of the city of Watertown residents don't golf, but we have the golf course. I continue to believe that we need to do the best we can with it, make the most of it, but you have to look at, what's it costing us, what's it going to continue to cost us, and can we afford it?
Has there been any interest with anyone maybe leasing it or taking it over?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
And, it's only been open a couple of years, right?
Right.
The first year you had a rainy season. Last year was kind of, well, it was wet at times as well. But a couple of the reasons that you're losing money on it, kind of some one-time purchases, whether it's a mower, you lost, I think, $250,000 last year. But if you take the mower off of it and you take a couple of other things, I don't know what that number would be, but it's moving in the right direction. Is there an argument to be like, well, maybe we need a couple of more years just to see?
I think, an argument could definitely be made on that side of things, yes.
And then the recent story about the ethics complaint and the legal bills that are adding up for that. Is $19,000 the accurate number on that so far?
I have not. I've seen the posts about the legal bills and screenshots of it. It's nothing I've seen firsthand myself, and I believe it is around $18,000 or $19,000.
And it's not over.
No, it's not over.
Yeah. So are we spending more money? We're going to pursue. I say we, but the city of Watertown. You're going to pursue more legal bills, probably?
At this point, I believe it's the intent of the council to continue to bring this entire process to a conclusion, to move forward with a hearing about the ethics charges and kind of put it to rest once and for all.
With the ethics bill and the way that started with the then Mayor Jeff Smith, and you're not here to speak for him, I understand, but the way that started, he asked for the ethics committee to convene, and really that just sort of pressed the go button on the legal bills.
It appears that way.
Yeah, it doesn't have any vote from council. Is that normal?
I can't speak to that because I've never been through this situation before, quite honestly.
But thinking, spending any sort of money like that or getting into any kind of litigation, that's why you have executive sessions and such. To have that fall with just one person being able to do that in this form of government doesn't appear to be the way that should have been done. I would think that the council would want to vote on spending that taxpayer money, whether or not to go into that legal.
Sure. I get the argument for that. I don't know in the past what has been done when other ethics complaints have been brought forward, if the city attorney at the time just went ahead and proceeded with it. I'm not sure. I would need to look back and find out more information on that, but I get what you're saying about, should the council have voted on that.
And in terms of spending more, as you just said, you want to see it through, that it should go to a conclusion.
I think that is the vote of the council at this point. A majority of the council said, let's bring this to a conclusion. I know I personally would like to put this entire thing to rest. I think a lot of people in the community would like to put this to rest, and I think that's what you will accomplish with a hearing. I don't think it's responsible of us to say, let's just forget about it and move on. There's an election in a few months. I think you just have to see the process through. Is it going to cost a bit of money? Yes, it is, and that's unfortunate given the financial situation that we've been talking about. But I think we have a responsibility that if there are ethics charges and that a ethics board that was voted on by the city council has determined that, okay, there's something there, that we have a responsibility to see it through.
Lastly, city council race. Petitions are out there, right? The race is on. And so count up your number of people, and really someone doesn't become a candidate perhaps until they turn in the petitions.
Correct.
Right? You got to have, and to a resident, educate the resident when someone comes to your door and they want you to sign their petition. As a resident of the city of Watertown, how many can you sign?
You can sign 2.
Okay. That's important for people to know,
yes.
right? And when you sign it, do you put a date on it?
Yes, you do have to date it.
So it's the first 2 that you do, and if you signed 4, it's the last 2 that don't get counted. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
So if you have 8 or 9, there may be 8 or 9 people that are going right now. That's robust, right? Is that what you want to see?
It's very robust, and honestly, I had heard from a lot of people saying that who would want to do this with all the controversy that's going on. So I was surprised to see that many people throw their hat in the ring, and as you said, it's really not official until you hand the petitions in. So there could be even more people out there who are running. So I'm glad that people are taking an interest and think that they have the skill set that would be an asset to council. I look forward to learning more about the candidates. There are a number of them who I don't know personally. I don't know them even professionally. I don't know their background. So I look forward to learning more about them and seeing what they could bring to the table.
So no endorsements?
No endorsements at this point.
Sarah Pierce, Mayor of Watertown, thanks for the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.